everyone. Welcome into episode 207 of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. I'm Nico Life from China, Tennessee, United States. Joining me from Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil is Gus Tomazelli. First and foremost, we want to wish every veteran a happy Veterans Day here in the U.S. and thank you for your service if you are a veteran.
Yeah, here in Brazil, I found out today that we have Veterans Day. It's today too.
Yeah, because today is Armistice Day, when World War I ended back in 1918. So that's the reason why it's November the 11th is to
No, it's only in U.S. In Brazil, it's July 18th to be completely accurate.
Yeah, and that day probably has some historic significance for Brazil, but that's why it is November 11th here in the U.S. is to commemorate the end of the First World War. Shout out to Emilia Camargo and Gustavo Barbuda for.
Oh yeah, my grandma always watching here in Americana, and my friend Gustavo Barbudo as well. He always tune in. He complained once that I didn't send him a shout out, so Gustavo Barbudo, valeu por assistir.
Absolutely. And obviously tonight here it's a Tuesday, so not really any at least major football. There's some action on. However, got some big time college basketball, a massive rivalry in the state of Kentucky tonight as the Wildcats are in Louisville to take on the Cardinals. The Cardinals are up by 16 right now, 74-58 with a little bit under 13 minutes to go. This thing still is far from over. I mean, it's been a chaotic game. And it's impressive just how far Louisville has come in 2 years under Pat Kelsey. You have to remember 2 years ago, Pat Kelsey Kenny Payne was head coach at Louisville, and they were horrible. I think he won like 8 games in 2 years. They were losing to teams like Appalachian State and Chattanooga at home, and he got ran out of town. However, our Pat Kelsey has come in from the college Charleston. He has quickly turned around Louisville into a very, very, very good basketball team once again. Of course, Louisville is historically a basketball power. It's interesting here because you have 2 young coaches. Because you have Pat Kelsey in his second year, and then you also have Mark Pope in his second year at Kentucky, coming in from BYU. These were both tournament teams last year. Louisville losing in the first round to, I want to say it was Creighton. And then Kentucky obviously losing to our Tennessee Volunteers in the Sweet 16. Unfortunately, we did not parlay that into our first Final Four, which they still hold over our heads. But hey, it is what it is. But Louisville is rocking tonight, though, and obviously it's been a tough week for that community given what happened last week with the plane crash. But tonight.
Oh, and it's the largest KFC Yumi Center attendance since 2017 against Notre Dame.
Oh yeah,
22,000 people.
Yeah, because I mean Louisville loves the Cardinals. Like that, they are a basketball power when that team is rolling and when they're good. And they just haven't been in a couple of years. They kind of had, and if Jason Weicker, a dear friend, were here, and I know he'll probably join us in the comments here in a little bit, he could tell you much better about the history of Louisville basketball and kind of why they've struggled the past couple of years, going back to the firing of Chris Mack, and I believe it was 2021, then just the absolute disaster that was Kenny Payne as their head coach. So Louisville has definitely righted the ship, and now they're almost going to go up by 20 there. I mean, it's straight up havoc the way they play. I mean, they play really fast. They get a lot of shots up. They're very pressure on defense. They do let up a lot of points, but they do score a ton. I mean, they're on pace to score over 100 points in this game, Gus. And this Louisville team they look like a squad that could do some things in March, to me at least.
Yeah, it was a big turnaround for the program, especially with the ineptitude and somewhat lost that was under Kenny Payne, but I feel like definitely it's a big turnaround.
Oh, 100%. And I think Kentucky is still pretty good. It's just, to me, it seems like they're running into a bit of a storm tonight. And sometimes in college basketball that happens, especially when you go on the road where you kind of roll into a storm here. So I think Kentucky will still be pretty good this year. Now it's worth noting that Tennessee plays both of these teams. Louisville comes to Knoxville next month, and then obviously we'll play Kentucky in conference play. Um, and when it comes to Tennessee, right, we've only really played cupcakes. So we had Duke in the exhibition. You don't know really how much you can take from that. So far, we've only played Mercer, and then we played Northern Kentucky over the weekend. Then we're going to play North Florida tomorrow. We don't play another P5 team until Thanksgiving when we play Rutgers. So it's going to be a while before we truly know just how good this team actually is. Granted, I do like some of the early signs of what I'm seeing. Like, obviously, Nate Mint, I'm very excited to see what he does against better competition. The 5-star, one of the top recruits in the country. He had 23, 8, and 5 the other day against Northern Kentucky. Really aggressive towards the basket. Jacoby Gillespie running the point. He had 20 the other night. Really, really good free-point shooter. And JP Estrella, too. I am loving the fact that he is back. We missed him a ton last year. I think he's providing an instant boost on the front court, and I think we have a lot of other pieces there that will contribute to the squad being very good. Are they good enough, though, to beat this Louisville team? That's the question. I like that we got this game at home versus Louisville, and obviously we'll have a month. We'll actually see them play against teams like Syracuse and Illinois and Houston, so we'll find out just how good Tennessee actually is before we play Louisville. But I would imagine Louisville will probably be favored in that match, I would think, as of right now. In Kentucky, it seems like it's probably a pretty even game. But obviously, we're sitting here on Veterans Day. It's probably a little silly to be guessing just how good the basketball teams actually are. And shout out to Thais
Paião. I converted her into a Vols fan. See?
Orange.
Yeah, she's already a big Orange fan, and my girlfriend.
A lifetime of pain. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
No. It was
we're never going to lose again now because of her.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean, it's a good time to be a Vol fan, in all sports compared to 8 years ago.
Absolutely. Like obviously, baseball is elite. Just won a national championship 2 years ago. Basketball is the best it's literally ever been. Football is good. Could be better, but it's good. So, yeah. But in any case, the Louisville now up by 20, and obviously this result comes on a night where we're seeing a lot of interesting results. Like Florida only beat Florida State by 2 at home tonight. Florida, they lost their opening game to Arizona. So the defending national champions are definitely, you can tell they're going to have to take some time to gel with each other. And really, to me, the big problem for Florida is they don't have Walter Clayton Jr. anymore. Walter Clayton Jr. was one of the most cold-blooded basketball players I've ever seen in college basketball. And whenever Florida needed a go-to bucket last year, that's the guy that you went to, and Walter Clayton. And Florida does not have that anymore. So I do think for Florida, it's going to make it really hard for them to come back and win a title, come back and go back-to-back. And also Michigan barely survived Wake Forest in overtime tonight as well. So that's an interesting result there because Michigan is currently in the top 10. Also the other night, North Carolina at home totally routed Kansas. It was 87-74 in a very just in a beatdown there. Also, Alabama beat St. John's the other day, 103-96. So it's interesting when you compare Alabama and Auburn, right? Because Alabama lost a lot as well. And from there, back-to-back, they made the Final Four 2 years ago. They made the Elite Eight last year. But, for St. John's was a team that a lot of people have had pegged into the Final Four this year. And, Nate Oates seems like he's continuing to roll right on with what he's doing down there in Tuscaloosa. And, Bama's still, I think, going to be a force to reckon with in the SEC. They right now have the most impressive win in the SEC so far with that win at St. John's. Arkansas, they lost on the road at Michigan State. That led to an interesting situation with Trevon Brazil. He had his he smacked a Michigan State fan in the face with a towel. So that was a fun situation to have in a Coach Cal versus Tom Izzo game. So Some interesting things happening early on in college basketball. Also, not to call the alarm too early on an upset, BYU down by 10 late in the first half to Delaware at home with a 5-star in AJ and Bayantaza. So you never always expect the unexpected when it comes to basketball. I think we can't hear you.
Yeah, that's why college basketball can be more unpredictable in the regular season, and that's why it doesn't matter a singular loss in the rankings. It matters is the long run, is how many wins you can accumulate.
100%. So we'll definitely keep an eye and see if Louisville can finish this off here as they're up by 20. Just quickly on the women's side of things, the Lady Vol started off 1-1 last week. They, I believe, fell just a little bit, to number 12 after losing to NC State by 4. Obviously, long way to go, of course. But of course, South Carolina, Connecticut, your usual suspects on the women's side tend to be up there. Of course, we don't have any Caitlin Clark anymore, so you're not going to see them way up at the top. But we'll see if Lady Vols can rattle off some bigger wins down the road. Also, just while we're on basketball in general, just to bring up the NBA real quick. I mean, it's too early probably to really be looking at standings, but I do want to say the Detroit Pistons are number 1 right now in the Eastern Conference. I had 9-2. I mean, I don't know if that's going to last. It probably will not last. But hey, I mean, great start for the Detroit Pistons. Cade Cunningham is, he's starting to really assert himself as one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah, and the Lakers too. What a good start despite not having LeBron James. That was surprising.
Right. Of course, Oklahoma City, they're dominating. Our poor Indiana Pacers, they were 1-9, without Tyrese Halliburton. And this is just going to be a washed year, I think. And not just that, they have several injuries. This is just going to be one of those years where you just have to kind of take it off as an Indiana fan. And hopefully they'll be back next year. Also, in the West, too, San Antonio being number 2 at 8-2. Of course, is this the year where finally it all starts getting going for Wemby, who right now is averaging 25.7, 12.8 rebounds per game. I mean, and 4 blocks. He's averaging almost 4 blocks a game, too, which is ridiculous. But when you're as tall as he is, that's what you would expect. So it'll be interesting to see how things progress there. Additionally, it's being reported that Nico Harrison is likely to be so the Dallas Mavericks today actually fired Nico Harrison.
I guess the Luka decision finally came to haunt him.
100%. I mean, clearly the fans didn't want him anymore. They probably should have fired him at the end of last season for that move. It just doesn't make any sense why you kept him all off season just to fire him 3 weeks into this season. And now your team is just kind of in limbo for the rest of this season before you can go and hire a new GM. The Dallas, I don't know what Mark Cuban's doing. I don't know if he might be too focused on politics to properly run this team, but Mark Cuban needs to come back and figure out what the heck's going on because this is insane.
Or sell the team. I think the fans they don't want to shout sell the team, or at least I haven't seen anything like that, because the Dallas Mavericks fans, I feel, have a sense of gratitude with Mark Cuban. He got the team on the lowest, got that 2011 championship that was one of the most biggest upsets in NBA history in terms of who they beat, the power Miami Heat team. And then now, he is too distracted. I think he lost interest. He's not that engaged like he was a couple of years ago.
Right, because I remember when he said when they lost the 2006 NBA Finals to the Heat that he didn't sleep for a month. And that's how invested he was. But you got to wonder after maybe the 2011 championship, did he does that kind of take some of the sales out of you? Like as an owner, does that take the drive out of you as an
I
owner?
maybe I'll say the pandemic kind of was, when he really got into politics, probably, or even when his personality got bigger when he got into Shark Tank. That made him not only a billionaire entrepreneur and a sports owner, to also a TV personality. And when you become a TV personality, your focus tend to change. Like look at the current United States president. Look how he changed when he became a TV personality.
Right, and you get all that attention, and I mean, like as someone who does TV, I mean, it does affect you knowing that people like see you out in public and they know who you are. Like, I mean, it does affect you. And obviously, I'm not Mark Cuban, and I'm not Donald Trump, so um, yeah, for the Mavs though, I mean, you got to wonder too: is this a sign of no confidence in Cooper Flag too? Because what does this mean for him? Because now the GM who drafted him is gone, and he's not having a bad season. He's averaging 15 points a game, 7 rebounds. Um, had 26 last night and a lost, but clearly when you could have kept Luka, I think that has to be part of the calculus.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, but he was a dead GM walking. I mean, everybody knew that it was kind of like what is the name of the Titans GM that traded AJ Brown?
John Robinson.
Yeah, like was the same situation with John Robinson at the Tennessee in your Tennessee Titans.
I mean, Dallas, the Mavericks are going to become the NBA Titans. It feels like because
Yeah,
everyone's going to point back to that one trade as the end of them being competitive and the end of them being good. Like they literally were just in the NBA Finals like 3 years ago, and now they're going to be just irrelevant.
yeah. I mean, they're already in the bottom, and I don't see them, changing that situation. They already, lost 8 games, uh, tied with the Pelicans, uh, you know, as the two teams that lost the most games in the West. Of course, in the East, you have the Nets, Pacers, and Wizards that lost more games. But yeah, like the Dallas, from all those 5 teams, Dallas is the second one that you can say that was good recently and then became bad.
Yeah, to me though, early on, it feels like Oklahoma City is going to be the team to beat right now. They're beating Golden State by 31 right now in the first quarter. I mean, they're dominating. I mean, SGA has 25 and 12 tonight. I mean, I don't know who's going to beat them. If the Pacers were healthy, like I would give them a chance, but they're obviously just not healthy this year. Um, Also, your Knicks are winning too, by the way, against the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, and the Knicks is the second in the East. Yeah, I feel the Knicks are going to be a contender, I'll say. Uh, and the problem is that the NBA Finals window for the Knicks, I feel like it's tightened more in the East compared to the other franchises.
I think I would agree with that.
Yeah, but although from those 11 weeks, I guess a majority of the teams have already 11 games, which is 1/8, almost 1/8 of the season. So there's more games to be played, and again, NBA November is like you know MLB April. There's still a lot to be played.
100%. And we'll see what we'll see how that continues to progress over this season. Okay. So let's get into week 11 of college football. We just have the new college football playoff rankings that came in. And frankly, there's not much change in them, but let me just pull them up real quick. so y'all can see it. And we almost had some massive changes to this that we'll get into here in a second as we go down the list. Right now, Ohio State is still number one. I think unless Ohio State loses, they'll probably keep that number one based off winning the national title last year, being dominant in every game.
But let me ask this, Nick. Do you think that Ohio State, I don't know, or even the Big Ten as a whole should rethink the broadcasting way, or it's just me that think that even though Ohio State have been perfect, it feels like their season has been in a shadow. Like nobody talks about it. There's no nothing. Like I feel like there's the only team that nobody talks about it.
I mean, that's fair, but they haven't really played a top tier game since Texas, right? Because Penn State was supposed to be that game, second game, but we didn't get it because Penn State fell apart. I mean, like Ohio State, frankly, really hasn't played another good team since their second hardest game was probably at Washington, and Washington is not a great team this season. I mean, Washington literally just lost at Wisconsin. So if you're losing to Wisconsin this year, you're not a good football team. So how good really is Ohio State? I don't know. Like talent wise, I think they're probably the best team, but
And it's crazy to me. Like I know that Penn State is out of the rankings, so we wouldn't talk about it. But how college football can change in a moment that affect all the season, right? Do you really think that if Penn State would have survived at home against Oregon in overtime, how different their season would have been?
Oh, 100%. Like they weren't going to go and lose to UCLA and Northwestern. But to me, clearly the fans turned on Franklin after that loss, and I think the players gave up after that loss. Is what happened. And we didn't really see fight from Penn State until this past weekend. And it's pretty nuts that literally that one loss just mentally killed Penn State. Like it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
That's what I mentioned, because this year was supposed to be Penn State's affirmation year. They finally made it the college football playoffs last year. They kept a lot of good players, James Franklin, and everything changed in a heartbeat.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like 2017 Tennessee loss at Florida when on the Hail Mary, and that's when Butch Jones was done.
I don't know, because Tennessee was not going to be a contender that year.
I mean, they weren't. But I think Tennessee would have been able to figure out a way to beat like Kentucky, South Carolina, if they had found a way to win at Florida. I mean, that's just me. But that team was pretty bad, so I don't know. They're probably screwed regardless. So in any case, speaking of the Big Ten here, Indiana, I mean, look, obviously, should they have been beaten Penn State by a lot more? 100%. To be deserving of such a high ranking. Which, I mean, obviously they are at 10-0 with wins at Oregon, and they've been dominant in most games. But I think, you also have to reward a team for going into hard environment and pulling off one of the most miraculous drives I've ever seen. Like that game-winning drive by Indiana was insane. And the touchdown catch by Amar Cooper, like that might be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, touchdown catch I've ever seen.
That's the play of the year, because the way that and NFL scouts should look into that, because not a lot of catchers, not a lot of receivers could have such a presence of mind to catch the ball that hard and knew how to position their feet so they can, land in a perfect way like that. That was magic.
Yeah, I was literally screaming watching the end of that game. That was an unreal game. And yeah, especially when you're a team program like Indiana, you've never been there before, right? You've never really been in this spot. Sometimes you just got to find ways to survive a game like that, and they found a way to survive a game like that. So big win for Indiana. I think Indiana will find a way to cruise to. They still got to play Purdue, and I believe they play another team that's sub 500. Because obviously Purdue's their last game. They also play Wisconsin, so they're gonna finish undefeated, I would imagine. In Ohio State, they have UCLA this week. They have, I think, Rutgers next week, like Maryland, something like that. And then they obviously go to Michigan. So they should be 11-0 heading into Michigan. And then I think they'll find a way to get through Michigan. In any case, I would be shocked if Ohio State Indiana is not your Big Ten title game. And I would be surprised if they weren't both undefeated. So Ohio State Indiana, I don't think that's going to change. Now, I know there's a lot of debate over whether or not Texas A&M should overtake them. And obviously, I know A&M, right? They've got to win at, where's Notre Dame at? Number 9. So they've got to win at number 9 Texas. But otherwise, like, you have to ask, what other like really good wins does Texas A&M have? And I know, there's an argument like, oh, A&M just looks really, really good. Well, yes, I know they won by 3 touchdowns this past weekend at Missouri.
But Texas A&M big game, like we mentioned at Ohio State, was supposed to be against LSU. That at the beginning of the season was on the top 4.
Right. Yeah. I mean, their only team win against a ranked opponent is Notre Dame at number 9, and Notre Dame's best win is USC. So, and USC is like number 17. They're not bad, but as we all know, Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference. So how much more tested would they be?
But another thing about Ohio State though, how much do you think their fans are thinking about that game against Michigan in a couple of weeks? That's all they think about it.
100%. Like, because I said, they have 2 cupcakes. They play UCLA this week, of course. Nico's return to Columbus. We'll see if this goes any better for him than the playoff game, but I would suspect it probably will not go any better. And then they play like Rutgers. So it's all about the Michigan game when it comes to Ohio State. You have to beat Michigan. You cannot lose that football game.
Yeah, especially last year's debacle of, the matchup.
Yes. And A&M, of course, they have South Carolina this week. They should be undefeated heading into the Texas game because they have South Carolina and then Samford. And, of course, Samford's an FCS team. They just fired their coach. So, it doesn't even matter if Samford's like a top 10 FCS team. A&M should beat them. And we should be seeing them 11-0 heading into Austin. Now, 4 and 5, Auburn and Alabama and Georgia both have big games this week. Bama hosting Oklahoma. Georgia hosts Texas. Texas Tech just got a big win against BYU. So they're now solidly the favorite to win the Big 12. They may have to replay BYU in the championship game. Let me look at those standings real quick for the Big 12. Because right now, so Texas Tech, BYU, and Cincinnati all have 1 loss. I don't know if BYU and Cincinnati play each other. They do. So BYU and Cincinnati play each other next week. So whoever wins that game will likely play Texas Tech for the Big 12 championship. It's the way the Big 12 looks like they're kind of figuring out. But Texas Tech should be the favorite. And if Texas Tech wins out the regular season, there could be an argument that if they're 11-1 and they lost the Big 12 title game, they would still be an at-large, maybe. But I think a lot of it would depend on how the rest of the field shook out.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Because if SMU got in over Alabama, it is possible the Big 12 team at large could be in.
Yeah, and then their win over BYU is better than any win that SMU had last season. Now, to be fair, Texas Tech doesn't really have any other great wins this year. Like their non-con was Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State, and Oregon State. Oregon State's like 2-8 this year.
And they fired their interim head coach. You saw that?
God, I did not see.
College football is turning into a madness even the interim head coach are getting fired mid-season.
Right. Oh yeah, and Utah's 13. So Texas Tech right now owns wins over number 12 and number 13. Like that's a better resume than Notre Dame. Notre Dame's best win is number 17 USC. So Texas Tech more than deserves to be up there. Like if the Big 12 title game were today, I think Texas Tech would be in no matter what. So Texas Tech's final games are they got UCF this week and then at West Virginia. So I think they should win both. Also, it's getting close in Kentucky, Louisville. It's only a 6-point game now. So the Wildcats are making things tense up in the Commonwealth, in the Bluegrass State. Ole Miss is 7. They played an FCS team this past week. I know they host Florida this past weekend. While we're on the subject, Jesus Christ, Florida. You lost 38-7 to Kentucky. 38-7 to Kentucky. And you know what's stupid, Gus? They're still probably going to find a way to beat Tennessee next week.
No.
I mean, in the swamp, like it's just they're trying to bait me with this performance, right? Like, you know,
I mean, if Tennessee loses to Florida, they fired their head coach mid-season, lost to Kentucky, the Tennessee easily beat on the road. I mean, then you can really start to question hypo or even the assistants if the way that this game goes down to.
I will be demanding firings if we lose next week. I'm just going ahead and telling you that now. But Kentucky, though, they're 5-5. They're 5-5 now, or 4-6, something like that. They actually have a shot of making a bowl game potentially. Well, they're 4-5 right now, so they have a shot. So, but yeah, Ole Miss will be heavy favorites there. So we'll see if Florida still has any fight. And I think Florida obviously fought hard against Georgia. I feel like losing that game and the way they did was probably the death knell. I hope they don't have one more fight in them against Tennessee. I will be.
Yeah.
I'm nervous thinking about that game next week. Of course, that's next week's game. We'll talk about that next week. But man, yeah. Anyway, Oregon, of course, number 8. They survived at Iowa
On a last-second field goal.
Yeah, gutsy win. Like we both picked Iowa to win that game. That's a gutsy win. That's a good win for the Ducks. Like that,
especially because of the weather. You saw how nasty the weather was?
Yeah, like that was a late fall, nasty Midwest game that Oregon's not used to because they're a West Coast team, and they found a way to get it done. And say kudos to them, 100% great win. That's probably a win that will solidify them in the playoffs. Notre Dame, of course, they beat Navy, which, hey, annual rivalry game. So, hey, you win. And Navy's not a bad team. And Notre Dame, they really can honestly just cruise the rest of the season. And, of course, we know because of the brand, as long as they don't lose, they're going to be in. Now, granted, Notre Dame does have a ranked game this week at Pittsburgh. So, if they can get past this week in Pittsburgh, then all they got to do from there is beat Syracuse and Stanford, Syracuse is injury riddled. So they're not that good of a team and not as good as they were at the beginning of the year. And then Stanford is not good. So Notre Dame is really this win away from getting past, getting to the title. So then you got Texas and Oklahoma, who both have huge chances. Then beyond that, so I haven't seen the bracket, but just thinking off the top of my head, so obviously Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Bama would be your 1, 2, 3, 4. So then Georgia, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Oregon are you 5 through 8. So if I'm correct, so that means you would have Notre Dame at Oregon. You would have Texas at Ole Miss. Then who's the top ACC team? Miami was your top ACC team. But I think if you look at the ACC standings, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the Georgia Tech should be ahead of Miami in the standings in the
Yeah.
ACC.
So like Georgia, let's just say Georgia Tech is your actual 11th seed right now, because Miami has 2 losses in conference for just no reason at all. And then do we have a G5 team, South Florida, and shout out to Tennessee there at 23. But hey, you got Josh Heupel and then his disciple in Alex Golish right next to him at 24, who I will assume will be at a big job this time next season. So South Florida would be your 12 seed. So South Florida would go to Georgia. So let's think about this, Gus. Let me see if I can just find the CFP mock bracket right now. There we go. Boom. There we go. All right, that's what it would look like right now. So, Gus, what would you think about these games? Well, let's say they have Miami up there. Let's just say that's Georgia Tech. So, to me, when I look at these games, like Notre Dame, Oregon would be a great game. Texas, Ole Miss would be a very interesting game. Georgia Tech and Texas Tech would be, I think, a very fascinating game. Like, it would all depend on like Haynes King and his ability to kind of, I think, shorten that game. And because obviously Lubbock will be going absolutely nuts. And did you see where Lubbock they got rid of like their taco tradition?
Oh, why?
It's so dumb. Like let people have fun. Like this is college football.
Yeah.
Like it's so dumb. And then South Florida, Georgia. Like I mean, I love me Alex Golish. And Georgia, I think, is very vulnerable. But South Florida, I don't think will win in Athens or would win in Athens. So just looking at these games, because if I had to pick this today, I'm probably picking. I think Oregon would beat Notre Dame at home. I think Texas would win on the road at Ole Miss. I would take Texas Tech and Georgia. So then you got Oregon, Ohio State. I mean, I feel like this just becomes the same exercise every week. But that's just kind of what it looks like right now. So your first 4 teams out, Gus, are Oklahoma, BYU, Utah, and Vandy. So I think it's safe to assume that as things work themselves out here, I do think Vandy will be playing for a spot in Neyland here in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you see Tennessee's way down here. There's no way we're getting back up there.
Yeah, that loss against Oklahoma was the nail in the coffin because
and the real nail in the coffin was missing the field goal against Georgia.
No.
So.
For me, no, because if you think about it, if Tennessee would have beat Oklahoma, they would be the 11th ranked because it would be 7-2, and Oklahoma will be in the bottom 20th.
Yeah, but we just didn't win that game. So
yeah, that game was the nail in the coffin for the chances of going to the college football playoffs.
Also, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was gonna say also how funny life is, because while Oklahoma end of the season is, I believe, 2 easy-ish games, especially the last one against a very demoralized LSU. Texas has to play against the best team in the SEC right now, Texas A&M, in a big rivalry game to survive for a chance for the playoffs. So Texas A&M has the chance to eliminate Texas.
100%. A team that just looking at this catches my eye here. USC at 17. They still have games against number 21 Iowa, and then they go to number 8 Oregon. If they can find a way to win both of those games, then all they have to do is beat UCLA, and they would be 10-2. And they probably would make the playoffs at that point. Can Lincoln Riley engineer that? Because if he can do that, that would silence a lot of haters very quickly for him.
Yeah, because Lincoln Riley right now is going to I compare what Jim Harbaugh happened at Michigan. Because remember, when Jim took over Michigan, like he was good instantly. By year two, he was one play away from the college football playoffs. Remember, if that, you know, if they didn't put a first down in the overtime, he would have beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
And after that happened, Michigan struggled for what, like 2017, 18, 19, and 20, four seasons in a row, and then went back to being good in 2021. That's probably what happened to Lincoln Riley, because remember, when he took over, USC was one game away from the college football playoff. If they didn't lost, I believe, against Oregon.
Yes. Utah. Was
Utah, Utah.
they
If they
lost.
didn't lose against Utah, they would have made the college football playoffs. Because remember, Tennessee was competing with them too.
Yeah, that was the year they had Caleb Williams, and he was
Yeah,
killing it. I think another team to watch out for too. So Miami still has 3 games left, and then one of those would be on the road at a number 22 ranked Pittsburgh team. So at 10-2, let's say Miami doesn't make the ACC title game. So Miami still has wins against Notre Dame, South Florida, and at 10-2 they would also beat Pittsburgh. Is there an argument for 10-2 Miami for the top 12? Because, I mean, their losses are, 19 Virginia and then unranked SMU. I mean, I feel like, especially
wasn't Louisville they lost?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Louisville was who they lost to. Yeah, I'm thinking of Florida State. So, yeah, and Louisville's down here at 20. So, which also, I just want to say this as well. Like, Virginia and Louisville totally screwed the bed this past week. Like, bad. They both lost at home, too. Virginia losing to Wake Forest at home. Wake Forest is 6-3, so shout out to them. First year under new head coach Jake Dicker. I mean, that's a very, very good season for them. But for Virginia, and they've been living on the edge a little bit the past few weeks. But man, that's just a bad loss for them to take in the ACC chase. And then Louisville, like the Louisville loss was even more head scratching, losing at home to California because Cal's not very good. They lost 34-0 to San Diego State, guys. And then to lose at home, that's just a brutal loss. And then that's kind of, I know that talking to Jason and some of the other Louisville guys I'm friends with, they say this has been a problem under Jeff Brommer. Like they lose a game like that. Speaking of Louisville, it's 93-86 with 2 minutes to go in basketball, as they're trying to hold on to beat Kentucky. But on the football side of things, that was a very disappointing loss for the Cardinals to take. So really for Virginia and Louisville, and also for Georgia Tech, like any of those teams will have to win their conference unless Georgia Tech does play Georgia. Let's say Georgia Tech gets to 10-1. I don't know who they play the next 2 weeks. Let me look that up real quick. But let's say they enter into the Georgia game at 10-1. They play in the Mercedes-Benz Dome, which is stupid, in my opinion. They do also host Pittsburgh. So let's say they beat Boston College, who they should beat. Boston College is terrible. And then Pittsburgh, which will be a good game. So let's say they win those 2 games. At 10-1, they solidify themselves the ACC title game. Would a win over Georgia, putting them at 11-1, guarantee them a spot no matter what? I think it would have to, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I would have to, I think. Also, one other thing, too. BYU beating Utah may end up being one of the more consequential results of the season since they're right next to each other. So that could be the result that gets BYU in and keeps Utah out. So it's going to be fascinating to see how things really progress throughout the remainder of the season. So let's get into also one other thing that wasn't even on those rankings because both of these teams are bad. I don't know how Mike Norvell still has a job at Florida State. He needs to go. Like, you beat Alabama week 1, obviously amazing win. But it's like that's all they cared about. And once they won that game, like, oh, we're good. We don't need to play anymore. And then they reverted right back to the Florida State that we saw last year. And you literally lost to, a bad Clemson team. But also, by the way, Clemson, it's embarrassing that you're rushing the field. Like, it's so embarrassing. I know it's the meaning of the paw, it's a tradition. It looks stupid. Like, I was laughing so hard when they were rushing the field when they beat a 5-loss Florida State team. Um, but Mike Norvell should not have a job right now.
Yeah, I mean, all the chances are gone. Of course, everybody remembers that 2023 season, but after that, he like won what, 4 games, 5 games in the last 2 years.
Yeah, and they've won like 5 or 6 games in the last 2 years, and like no ACC games too. Like
Yeah,
it boggles the mind.
yeah, it really does. I mean, it's one thing to revere what you've done. It's another thing to cling on results that are unfathomable. That it's past due.
Yeah, so it is, I think, time. Also, in the ACC race, I want to bring this up too. So Pittsburgh has 1 loss; they're in it. SMU only has 1 loss. Now they're unranked, and Duke also only has 1 loss of conference play too. Although they've lost 3 games out of conference, including this past weekend to Connecticut. Connecticut is 7-3 in football, so shout out to the UConn Huskies. Also, a name that I think for NFL fans to watch for: Skylar Bell. He is their receiver. He is awesome. I think he is going to be a guy who's going to be a stud at the next level. So just keep an eye on Skylar Bell at the next level. Okay, so into picks this week for underrated games, Gus. For me, I think an interesting game is Minnesota at 8 Oregon. And the reason why here is it's a Friday night game. Like, obviously Oregon's a massive favorite, but can Minnesota hang around and make this interesting? They're 6-3. They haven't had a terrible season. Can PJ Fleck engineer something here? Because it feels like Oregon hasn't been sharp recently.
No, yeah, especially after the Indiana loss.
Yeah. Like, definitely Oregon's been trying to find their groove. Also, 18 Michigan at Northwestern. Northwestern has had a quietly decent season, especially by Northwestern standards. Like, they have 5 wins. They're trying to get to a bowl game. Not bad at all for
How cool it is that this game's going to be at Wrigley Field. I mean, it's an iconic venue for a really good matchup.
Yes. And yes, for my
and another thing that we forgot to mention is that Michigan is 7-2. If they win out, especially beating number 1 Ohio State, is there an argument for Michigan to be in?
I mean, they would have the best one in the country. The
Yeah.
problem is, though, they don't have any other good wins. Like, they lost at Oklahoma. They lost at USC. Their second best win, if they won out, would be probably Northwestern or Washington. Is Ohio State enough? It would be the question.
Yeah, that's the key.
Yeah.
And I think it would, because remember, it's all about recency. It's all about, the next week. And what do you know? You beat the number 1 team in the country, undefeated on the road. That gets a lot.
It's in this year. It's in Michigan this year.
Oh, I thought it was in Columbus.
No, they beat them in Columbus last year. Remember the flag planting and the brawl was last year.
Yeah, still though. So even though it's at home, it's the number 1 team in the country, undefeated. Now we all assume they're Ohio State will be 10 12-0. So I really feel that if Michigan went out, they're gonna sneak into the playoffs.
I could definitely see that. Okay, for my upset pick, Gus, Tennessee Tech over Kentucky. Now, Tennessee Tech is undefeated. They're ranked number 6 in the FCS. Now, Kentucky's won 2 straight SEC games. But wouldn't it not be so funny?
That would be the boldest pick. And do you think that would be it for
Stoops. Like, I mean, if he loses that game, like Stoops gets fired.
yeah, I really think so. If Stoops loses this game, he's fired. There's no excuse.
Yeah. Do you have any underrated game / upset alerts for the week?
My up my upset alert for this week. Ah, um, it's I'm just thinking because there's I'll say
I think there's a lot of blowouts this week.
yeah, that's what I can feel. Give me Duke over Virginia.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, because Duke has been really good recently. Even though they lost closely to UConn, but they beat Clemson, they beat Cal, they beat Syracuse. So, and Virginia is going to be in a hangover game. So, and look at this game. How hangover for both. I mean, we talk about Kentucky and Florida was like a one of those uh hangover slash very you know uh, bad matchup. Michigan State and Penn State both did not win a single game in the Big Ten. Both 3-6.
And that game's on CBS too. And we also have to talk about one thing I want to bring up here. And I'm not just saying this because I am an employee of a CBS station who has nothing to do, by the way, with which games we get to play. Like News 12 did not get to decide that we're showing it Big Ten games over the SEC. But these games the CBS has given us for the Big Ten are an absolute disaster. Like, how is Iowa USC not the CBS game this week over Michigan State, Penn State?
I guess they chose at the beginning of the season, and they would have thought Penn State would be relevant and would be kind of like maybe the important game for the playoff implications. But still, it's a very very bad matchup. Like, how can you promote a game like that?
Exactly. And like, think about this in the South, especially. You know what ABC has at the same time? Oklahoma and Alabama. Everyone's going to watch that game instead. Like, it just, no one's going to be watching Penn State, Michigan State.
Yeah, because there's huge implications not only in the South but in the rest of the college football landscape. Because if and I'm gonna pick my upset alert: Oklahoma beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
I just can't agree with you on that one. Like, I mean, I think it'll be an interesting game. Of course, Oklahoma did it last year. To me,
Yeah,
we'll have something to prove. Now, Bama didn't look great last week against LSU. They kind of struggled to that win, but I do think they'll come out a bit crisper this week. And Oklahoma really didn't come in and beat Tennessee necessarily as much as Tennessee self-imploded against Oklahoma. And you have to give Oklahoma credit for taking advantage of our mistakes. But I don't think Alabama's going to play like that. I think Alabama's going to play far better. I think Ty Simpson is playing on a much better level than Joey Aguilar is. I think Alabama will defeat Oklahoma, and it looks like Louisville has done it. They're going to beat Kentucky 96-88. Shout out to the Cardinals.
first win versus Kentucky since late December of 2020.
That is awesome. Congratulations to them. That is love to see that for them.
Statement win for the Cards.
Yeah, Pat Kelsey. Of course, Donovan Mitchell is there celebrating on an off night for the Cleveland Cavaliers. That is awesome. Good for them. Of course, I mean, Kentucky, they'll be fine. But obviously, I know both sides want to win that game. Want to win that game a lot. So, that's a big win for Louisville. Big win. I forgot where it was. Yeah, talking about
The Yeah, we're talking, and if you want to go analyze that matchup, is in the liner. I think it's going to be Alabama gets the grip back after a somewhat disappointing performance against a very bad LSU team, or either Oklahoma surprises Alabama, and then there's SEC chaos. And you talk about ACC chaos, there can be some SEC chaos.
there definitely could be there. I am going to take the Tide to win there in Tuscaloosa. Although I would love to see Oklahoma do it. So that would be a hilarious result. Some of the other big games, the big G, and I love how, at least in this new format, we were forced to pay attention to the G5, particularly the American Conference. 24 South Florida at Navy in a game that's really big for the American Conference here. What do we think about this one?
I think South Florida is going to survive.
I agree. I think Navy's been exposed the past 2 weeks. I don't think they're obviously a very good team. They're probably the best of the armed forces teams. They're not good enough, though, to, I think, compete for the playoffs. Give me South Florida. Number 9, Notre Dame, who just beat Navy last week, going on the road to number 22, Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh feels like they've been very quiet, kind of came out of nowhere. Now, they did lose to West Virginia early, but give Pat Narduzzi some credit there. They've kind of gotten it going a little bit here. Does Pittsburgh have a chance?
Yes, I think they definitely have a chance.
I'm going to say I think Notre Dame's going to win. I think because the thing for Notre Dame is if they win this game, they got Syracuse and Stanford to finish the year. I just think for Notre Dame,
but it's a very dangerous game. But if they lose this game, then the committee cannot, for the life of them, put Notre Dame in. Like, it will be the most outrageous thing ever.
Yeah, it's over. It's 100% over. So this is do or die for Notre Dame, but I think the Fighting Irish will get it done.
And then again, if Pittsburgh Panthers win out, beating 3 consecutive ranked teams, is there an argument?
Check Miami.
Yeah, is there an argument to be made?
100% there's an argument to be made. Absolutely. I mean, they would end up, they may be in the ACC title game too at that point as well.
Yeah, because they're 5-1. They're 5-1.
Yeah.
They're even literally ahead of, for example, Miami in the ACC standings.
Yeah. So the Pittsburgh has everything ahead of it. And remember, Pittsburgh, for the ACC purposes, even if they lost this game, I still wouldn't eliminate them at all from ACC contention. So this is not necessarily a do or die for Pittsburgh.
But I think for Notre Dame, it will be death.
Yeah.
There's no excuse.
Yeah, there's more pressure here on Notre Dame. So I'm going to take Notre Dame to the win.
Well, I'll talk about the ACC. Miami, which is ranked number 15. I mean, I know they're not going to play a big matchup, NC State at home. Do you know how much tickets are?
$5.
$3.
Oh my god. Oh man. So it's such a passionate fan base, though, Gus.
Yeah, really passionate.
For Tennessee tickets this weekend for New Mexico State. Let's see here. Tickets are trying to figure out $50.
Yeah, and he's the cheapest of the season, and it's still 20 times over.
Yeah, and I'll be real. I don't really have any interest in going to see us play New Mexico State. I know we haven't really even talked about that game. I mean, what am I supposed to say? It's New Mexico State. Well, we'll win this game. Obviously, for playoffs, those are irrelevant. So at this point, I don't even know really. I'm not going to say that this game is pointless for Tennessee, because it's not pointless, obviously, like it's homecoming. So there's a point there, but like for me as like just as the fan, right? This game feels pointless.
Yeah, if they would have beat Oklahoma, then you could make an argument. Hey, you really have to win out, so all those three matchups matter. But right now, the matchup all fans are thinking about is not on Saturday. It's not on this Saturday in Knoxville, but the one next week in Gainesville. That's
Right.
the game all fans are still really deeply caring about this season.
Yeah, because I mean, look, obviously we're not going to make the playoffs, but like, at least if we're not going to make the playoffs, at least end the streak in the swamp. Um,
Yeah, that's the mentality of 100% of the Vol fans because, and that's a and that's the situation Josh Harper really have to work this week is to get the players to think like we still have a game to play that we have to show fall fans how good this team is because as I know you don't care about it, but it will be a really embarrassing loss if New Mexico State come to Neyland and beat the Vols.
yeah, I mean, it would be. I'm not worried about them losing this game. I'm worried about them losing next week. is what I'm concerned about, and that's
Yeah,
all
well,
anyone I think is going to be thinking
yeah,
about.
yeah. I agree with you, but how many times we see coaches talking about how hard it is to motivate for a cupcake game in a situation like that when you have a rival in the next week.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like it's hopefully they'll come out and they just put away them early. Tennessee's a 41.5 point favorite in this game. Honestly, I would probably, if I were neutral, I probably would bet New Mexico State to cover. Just because
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll bet the under. I'll definitely bet the under.
we'll probably win by like 28-35, something like that.
I think it's gonna be like 42-10.
Something like yeah. I feel bad for not being excited because I feel like I should be excited for every Tennessee game because we only get 12 of these a year. But like, is it bad that I'm not excited? Because like I'll watch, of course, but like I feel like this week's just more of a chore
And
than
how crazy to think that let's say if you would have told Vol fan in 2017, in 2013, even in 2020, that 6-3 Vols team, you know, it was going to have a hangover, disappointing, a game that it would feel meaningless.
yeah. I mean, and you bring up a fantastic point there. Like there were plenty of years where we were just begging to get to 6 wins. So yeah, the fact that this season feels disappointing is a testament to how far we have come. And to be fair, like if we beat Florida and Vandy and finish 9-3, the season really isn't that disappointing. Because that will be great. Because I think had us at like 8-4 projected preseason. Um, so I mean that would be one higher. But the thing that will always make this season feel raw is the fact you were a field goal away from being in Georgia. You completely imploded against Oklahoma. Like those were two games you probably should have won, and you let get away. Um, and
Yeah,
all you can do is the refs didn't take it away from you. You blew it. You took it away from yourself, and that's just kind of one of those program things where you have to look at that and just work on those details this offseason. But at the same time, the best way to go into next year with a lot of momentum is to finish this year with great momentum. And that's all you can do. Go like win the next 3 games, finish 9-3, go win your bowl game, and then let's kind of go into next year 10-3, right? Like, and we're gonna. And I
I,
think,
I said I said in the beginning this year was going to be just like 2023, and what do you know? It's completely going in the same direction.
yeah. So, in any case, I don't think there's anything to worry about this week. We'll talk next
because
week.
because at this stage in Tennessee 2023 season, Tennessee was up at that point. Tennessee
You're
was
7-2,
seven
so
7-2. Tennessee was 7-2.
yeah. So we were thinking we could still get to like a New Year's Six game at that point in the
Yeah.
season.
So if you say, let's see the automatic win over New Mexico State, Tennessee will be in the same exact scenario they were, 2 years ago in 2023, with 7-3 coming up on the last 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah. So in any case, I do think we're going to learn a lot about Heupel in this program the next 3 weeks, especially next week. Like next week to me is judgment day for Josh Heupel and the staff. Like, and we'll obviously, as I said, next week we'll talk all about the swamp. I'm just saying right now that's probably the most important game of his career here. So anyway, but that's not this week. Okay, where were we at? All right, Iowa at USC. Number 21 Iowa, number 17 USC.
Give me the Trojans.
I agree. Give me the Trojans as well. Setting up a massive game next week in Oregon. And then our game of the week, number 10 Texas going on the road to number 5 Georgia. What do we think here?
That's a tricky matchup.
Right, because Georgia has been just skating by. They've been skating by. Granted, they came out this past week, dominated Miss State. Texas has gotten better throughout the season. But they still, I think, have a lot of questions. And
I can see a swap in the rankings if Texas beat Georgia.
Right, and I think Texas is a lot to prove it too. Because remember, they lost to them twice last year. Lost to them in the SEC title game, and then lost to them at home in the regular season. And remember that really crazy game too, where all the fans were throwing stuff on the field.
Yeah, and that got the refs to change a decision.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest here. I know I picked Miss State to be Georgia last week, and that obviously did not work. So whatever. I Georgia just seems to have a horseshoe stuck up their ass, is what it feels like. A night game in Athens. I do think Georgia's going to find a way to get this done.
Give me the Longhorns.
Yeah, I kind of want the Longhorns to get this done. Arch Manning can win back a lot of his haters if he goes into Athens as a great game. And I think he could. I mean, Georgia's defense is not very good. So we'll see if Texas is ready for it. Because obviously this year they've sucked at Ohio State. They sucked at Florida. So is Texas ready to win on the road here? Is the great question. All right. So we'll see how Week 12 goes in college football. Week 11 of the NFL, I think the most dominating performance, the most fascinating performance was Jonathan Taylor, who has to be hands down the MVP right now. I don't think there's an argument for anyone else in the NFL right now to be MVP. Outside Jonathan Taylor, I mean, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that overtime win over the Falcons was probably the Falcons. Like, you just knew when they took the lead with a minute left, they were going to find a way to blow it. This is what the Atlanta Falcons do. But what Jonathan Taylor continues to do is unbelievable for the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, Daniel Jones has been obviously very, very good for Indianapolis. But, like, Jonathan Taylor is to Daniel Jones what Derrick Henry was to Ryan Tannehill. They take these average quarterbacks and they're making them look really good. And I don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be able to perform in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the thing that I guess worries the fans, is that how efficient Daniel Jones can be in the postseason.
Yeah. But for the Colts, I mean, they're clearly right now running away with the division. Particularly with the Jags melting down at Houston. I mean, my gosh, you let Davis Mills score 29 on you. And then you lost Travis Hunter for the year too, as he officially got knee surgery. It feels like whatever chance Jacksonville had as chasing out Indianapolis has evaporated. And I don't think there's enough time for Houston to catch back up either.
No, yeah.
And obviously, well, the Titans are just the Titans, so we don't need to really go there.
Yeah, they were in a bye week, so they didn't lose.
Yes, we did not lose this week.
Yeah, we did. So celebrate not losing this week.
Yes. I think another game that was fascinating to me, though, Gus, was the Monday night game between the Eagles and the Packers last night. What a low score and slugfest that was. Like, both
Yeah, it
defenses
surprised
dominated.
me.
And then at the end of the game, I don't know what Nick Sirianni is thinking. Going forward on 4th and 7 with 30 seconds left up free. And then giving the Packers the ball at like your own 40-yard line. Like what is Nick Sirianni doing here? You know, like he just won a Super Bowl, so obviously he's in no danger of getting fired. But like you look up his name last night, like there are Eagles fans ready to throw this guy overboard, and they just won him a Super Bowl. The decision making sometimes from Sirianni just makes zero sense. But he's very lucky. He's a lucky coach.
Yeah, but look what happened to Doug Peterson and how fast he was fired to after winning the Super Bowl.
Right. In Philadelphia, they don't play if you don't keep winning. So, and for the Packers too, like Jordan Love is very inconsistent. To me, when Jordan Love is amazing, like that dude is the prototypical quarterback that anyone would want to have, but he's just not very consistent, and that worries me for him long term. So, in any case, also I think the Rams too also had a very impressive win. To me, it feels like the Rams right now should be the favorite from the NFC to make the Super Bowl. They might be the favorite to win the whole thing right now.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly are better than last year, and but look how loaded the NFC West is right now.
Yeah, I mean the Seahawks were up like 35-0, like 15 minutes of the game. It was crazy against the Cardinals. So the Seahawks are going to have their chance, although I still don't know if I fully trust Sam Darnold to actually get it done in crunch time. But maybe in Seattle, maybe he can do it there. Also, Chicago is tied for the NFC North lead, which who would have thunk that preseason versus the Lions.
Especially the Vikings, because the Vikings, they were good last year.
Yeah. How about the Kansas City Chiefs being 2.5 games back of the AFC West lead?
But somehow they're gonna sneak into the wild card.
And we all know what's going to happen there, right? Voodoo magic. Also, the Baltimore Ravens are back from the dead. They've won their 3rd straight game. They're only a game behind the Pittsburgh Steelers, which, my God, like their offense was abysmal on Sunday night against the Chargers. That was bad football from Aaron Rodgers. So, like to me right now, I think Baltimore's the favorite to win that division with a healthy Lamar. Like Lamar picked the right year to have that injury happen because the rest of the NFC North sucks. So like Baltimore can still like come back and be in get back to the playoffs.
Yeah, and and the Pittsburgh Steelers are the best team in their division, and their identity is like what? They don't have a good defense. Their offense is, and what is translate that is that they are the only team that is leading a division that have a negative differential.
Yeah.
Negative.
Man, I just am thinking about what if the Bengals had a defense? Yeah. What if Cleveland had a football team? Also, what happened to the Bills this past weekend, man? Like they lost by 17 to the Dolphins. It feels like one of those performances that just shows that Buffalo, when it push comes to shove, is probably going to find a way to blow it. especially given that the Patriots just keep winning. The Patriots might make the Super Bowl this year with the way they're playing. Like Drake
What,
May.
what, what hurts the most, Nick, is that seeing Mike Vrabel succeeding in New England, or having the Patriots back. That's we all thought was going to take longer for the team of the will the team of the century, the team of the century so far.
Well, I
You know,
mean, I
it's
don't mind that New England's good. And I'm happy for Mike Vrabel. Like, I am glad he is away from an absolute crap show of a franchise and he actually gets to succeed now. Obviously, as a Titans fan, um, it's clear he wasn't the problem. Let's just put it like that. Our problems are still here. And I'm assuming at this time of night in Nashville, Tennessee, she's not in the office. I'm assuming. That's where the problem is. We have a negative 127 point differential. There's no other team with an over negative 100 point differential. Like, I'll be honest, because I haven't watched a full Titans game in probably a month. I mean, and also when I look at this situation, is it going to get any better anytime soon for the Tennessee Titans? I just don't know. Like, this team is so bad.
currently they are the worst team in the league.
Easily. Like, it's a miracle we won a game. I mean, to be fair,
Well, far the Arizona Cardinals giving that game up.
yeah, they just gave it up. Everyone in Arizona should have been fired for losing that game. Like, if you lose to the Tennessee Titans this year, you deserve to be fired and banned from primetime television.
100% agree.
Yeah. Anyway, let's pick some of the games this week. So, Thursday night, your New York Jets going to the New England Patriots.
As painful as it is, I have to say, New England.
Yeah, the Patriots. I don't know why are they subjecting the Jets to this? Just put them at 1 p.m. CBS. Like there's no reason to subject. Okay, 9:30 game. This was going to be such a good game until all the injuries. The Commanders and Dolphins in Madrid, Spain.
Yeah, at the home of Real Madrid, Santiago Bernabeu. Give me the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'll take the Dolphins as well. 1 p.m. games here. The Texans, the Titans. So that means that Amy Adams-Struck will actually probably be at the game because this is the game she cares about. The only game she cares about. And are we doing the Oilers? Are we doing that stupid Oilers crap this week? Let's see. I hope we're not doing this stupid crap. Let's see. Oilers throwbacks. Because they... Okay, I don't see anything about it this week. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they're not doing it this year, which is good. That's a good step because you're the Tennessee Titans now. You are not the Houston Oilers. With that being said, though, Houston will win this game to get back to 500.
Yeah, give me Houston too. Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So we have the 5-5 Carolina Panthers at the 3-6 Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, and I bet the under of the total is going to be a low scoring game. Give me Panthers.
I'm going to take the Falcons. The Panthers had a really embarrassing loss the other day to the Saints. And I think there has to be a conversation about Bryce Young. He's just not very good. Like they're being carried by Rico Dowdle right now. Bryce Young's not good. A really good game here, though. The Buccaneers at the Bills, both coming off a loss.
Oh, yeah, it's on Buffalo. Give me the Bills.
I'll take the Bills as well. The Bears at the Vikings.
Bears.
I'll take the Bears. Packers at the Giants.
Giants.
I feel like the Giants are a dead program. Also, Brian Dable being fired as well. Feels like that was inevitable. I kind of, at first he was really good, but it kind of fizzled out there. So I'll take the Packers. The Bengals at the Steelers.
Steelers.
Yeah, I'll take the Steelers as well. Interesting one here. Chargers at the Jaguars.
Chargers.
I'll take the Chargers. And this is a good one here. Seahawks at the Rams. First place in the NFC West on the line.
Rams.
I'll take the Rams. 49ers at the Cardinals.
49ers.
Yep, I go 49ers.
They're
All right.
hope alive.
We have the Ravens at the Browns.
Ravens.
I'll take the Ravens. Chiefs at the Broncos.
Yeah, give me the Ravens.
Well, for Chiefs Broncos,
Oh, sorry. Give me the Broncos. They're undefeated at home.
I think Kansas City finds a way to pull this off on the road.
That if that happens, then it's a game-changing season.
100%, because then Casey is back in it. And then you have a freeway race between the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Chiefs for the AFC West. So this is the biggest game of both seasons right here. Big rivalry game. This will be and Denver is going to be riled up for that game. So it's going to be a wild one. Sunday night. This is a great Sunday night game here. The Lions at the Eagles.
Lions.
I think the Eagles will get it done at home. And then for the opposite end, for ABC, what are we doing here? Cowboys at the Raiders. Gross game.
And it's $300. Who in the right mind in Vegas paid $300 to see those both crap teams?
There are much better things you can do for $300 in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that, especially for single people.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Raiders, though. I think the Cowboys, their season has just been completely derailed at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
So, anyway, so that is the NFL for this week. The one last note in the American, after the very little mentioned MLS playoffs, which I'll be honest, Gus, I still have not watched a single second of, and I've not heard anyone say anything. That's what I'm more interested in, Gus. Does anyone bring up MLS just in conversation? Does anyone bring this up? I know we're in the quarterfinals now.
Yeah, in Brazil, no, it's a irrelevant league. There's no Brazilian that appeals to it. But yeah, but the darling of the darling of the league is still alive. They got the win over Nashville 4-0 at home, and they are alive for definitely the happiness of the commissioner and the league. And
Cincinnati, and I drove by their stadium a few weeks ago. Very nice.
Miami?
No, Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah, Miami 2 goals for Messi. Yeah, they are gonna face now the FC Cincinnati, who beat their in-state rival. So it's gonna be in the other side, New York City FC, one of the most guttiest wins of the season on the road, beat Charlotte 3-1, and they're gonna face the number 1 seed, the Philadelphia Union, who in 2 games eliminated the Chicago Fire. And the other side is gonna be San Diego and Minnesota, and LAFC versus Vancouver. All top 4 teams advanced.
Yeah. So I don't know who to pick here. So to be completely honest with you. So
yeah. Sounds fair.
Anyway, so what's going on? Speaking of soccer down in Brazil.
Oh, the big topic I believe we addressed a lot last week, but I have to keep talking about it, is Santos. Tough loss on the road, 3-2. But what was even hard to watch was Neymar. He came back after being out last Thursday against Palmeiras because Neymar doesn't play on the artificial turf, only natural grass, which is, weird, but fine. So he felt disconnected with his peers. At some point, he went all the way back on defense, and when the keeper was gonna kick for the offense, he tried to pass, and then the defender kicked to the offense, and he was very mad about it. He was mad at the coach when he got subbed. Clearly, Neymar is not at his best, and also is not in the right state of mind. So, but especially because Santos is back in the relegation zone. Vitória uh, had a tie on and the win on Thursday. So, you know,
Doesn't sound like he should be anywhere close to the Brazilian national team next year.
yeah, that's the point. Where, like, I as much as I can think of an appeal to put Neymar in the national team because he's the leader of this generation, he's a veteran player, but on the field, he hasn't made any performance that made Carlo Ancelotti think about calling him. And he's running out of time for the last call for the World Cup. So that's the point. I mean, he's playing bad in a Brazilian league, and Santos fans are not happy with him out there. I mean, he's still an idol, an iconic player, but right now he's not helping Santos avoid relegation. Santos has not won. I believe Santos has not won a game since September, I think. No, since October. Last one win was against Corinthians on October 15th. Since then, Santos has lost 3 games and tied 2. So,
It does feel
yeah,
like
tough stretch.
it's about time though for
Go ahead.
the Chelsea Football Club to come in and buy him up.
Yeah, but again, they still have to make the transition from uh, country club format club into a business kind of club. So, and this still haven't happened. If that happens, may definitely Neymar dead enterprise will also think about owning it. But yeah, it's Santos definitely is a disappointing season. On top, you have Palmeiras losing to Mirassol. I mean,
Hey,
the
well, what
story
about
of this. I mean, Mirassol have won at home against Palmeiras, Corinthians, Santos, and Sao Paulo. All big four of the state of Sao Paulo is still undefeated at home, celebrating their 100th anniversary, 100 years of foundation, winning Palmeiras, the best team in the country, and in fourth place. Really close to getting spot in Libertadores. I mean, what a magical run! I mean, if I was a Mirasol fan or a Mirasol B reporter, I'll be over the moon. I'll be like in dream.
like they better be rushing the pitch every time they win.
Yeah, they should, but unfortunately, if they do that, it would be fines and stuff. Unfortunately, there's not a culture of rushing the field. I mean, even though we had field rushing in Brazil, not in the third division final here in nearby in Campinas, Ponte Preta won, but they never won a national title, only state championship, and their fans were so happy they rushed the fields completely, and there were no, you know, trophy presentation because of rushing field. It's like if, for example, the Dodgers winning the World Series and the fans rushing the field, avoiding that protocol, giving the trophy celebration.
That
So that
is,
was
yeah.
completely madness. So, I mean, that was the only time I remember field rushing in Brazilian soccer in the last year. So, yeah, and Palmeiras, but there's a big controversy again off the field because um, the sports court in Brazil, we call STJD, made a controversial decision that postponed the trial of Bruno Henrique, who allegedly got a yellow card, but let his brother know in advance he was gonna get a yellow card, and his brother and other family members made a bet on it, and he states that yellow card was for sports reason because he wanted to get the suspension sooner in the next game in that championship, and to be ready for the end of the tournament. And his only mistake was telling his brother in advance. But still, it's a very, very messy situation. But the courts postponed his trial, and on the other side, they punish Palmeiras player Alab because of uh, a very uh, very tough fall. You know, he made a very tackle of a player against, I think, against Fluminense, and he was given a 2-game suspension. And the Palmeiras fans are asking, why does Bruno Henrique, who did a so-called way worse thing, not be trial, and Palmeiras player was trialed? That is the question Palmeiras fans are. I hate when this happens because when you start not not legitimizing, under delegitimizing the league, you tend to make your product less appealing, and and that's the problem. But Palmeiras and Flamengo, they're gonna fight for Brazilian Championship and Libertadores. They're both with 68 points. Um, Cruzeiro with 64, a slight chance, but I just don't see Palmeiras and Flamengo losing 2 games in a row to give a chance for Cruzeiro. I think it's going to be both of them fighting to the end of the year for a national title and South American title.
Yeah, certainly can be fascinating to see how the Brazilian season ends, and obviously, continued shout out to Marisol. What a story that is.
Yeah, again, a city of 60,000 people that is the fourth best team in Brazil right now. And with with a payout, with a roster that costs 3 million reais, which, for example, compared to Santos, is way less and gets way better results.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's gonna be, now it's a FIFA break. There's 2 games, 3 games to be played. One tomorrow and 2 on Saturday. The biggest one, Santos Palmeiras. And you ask, didn't they just play it on Thursday? Yes. This game was supposed to be played way back in June, but Palmeiras was playing the FIFA Club World Cup. This game has been had to be postponed, and the only date available was November 15th. So big game implication for both sides of it, for the relegation part and title part.
Oh yes. Alrighty, well, I guess that is all the time that we have here for episode 207 here on this Veterans Day in 2025. For Gus Tomazelli, I am Nick Hill. Thank you so much for listening to the only Brazilian American sports podcast. 2 countries, 2 America, all sports. Have a great night.